Hello, and welcome to the Oxford House training video. Today's training will be on House Treasurer. We will be discussing the duties of Treasurer and walk through how to fill out the forms and reports that fall under the responsibility of Treasurer. Please have your officer packet or binder present and follow along. Let's begin. Alright, here are the Treasurer duties. Each house shall have its own duly elected treasurer. The treasurer must be a resident of the particular house and shall serve for a term not to exceed 6 months. An individual may not succeed him or herself in the same office. However, he or she may be elected to the same office after a period of 6 months. The duties include: number 1, the treasurer shall have the overall responsibility for assuring the sound financial management of the house. Together with the president and comptroller, the treasurer shall conduct an audit of all financial records at least once a month. The treasurer shall post the findings of such audit for the other members of the house to examine. And number 2, the treasurer shall A. familiarize him or herself with the following financial record-keeping procedures established by the house. From time to time, he or she may make recommendations to a meeting of the house for any changes in record-keeping procedures which provide an improved system for the house. B. Make timely payments of all house bills. C. Be responsible for collecting any money due to his or her Oxford House from Oxford House, Inc. or any other Oxford House. The terms and conditions for the loan of money between houses or to Oxford House, Inc. shall be set by the members of the lending house. D. Not to be one of the duly authorized officers designated to sign checks. E. Deposit collected EES and may assist all financial transactions authorized for the comptroller. And E. Balance the books prior to the meeting with the assistance from the comptroller and president. Alright, now don't get intimidated or get stressed because you'll get it down in a couple of weeks. So let's go ahead and look at the forms you will be using week in and week out as House Treasurer, starting with the Financial Status Report. This is the Financial Status Report. It will be the report you give when the President calls for the Treasurer's report. It has a front and a back. This is the audit form that you will sit down and fill out with the Comptroller and President each month. And this form will be used whenever you need to add or remove a signer from the house checking account.
Obviously, as treasurer, you'll be dealing with money orders, the house checkbook, deposit book, and bills for the house. Now, some other items that you will need will be a calculator, a pen, a deposit stamp, postage stamps, envelopes, and of course the all-trusty whiteout. Because if you make a mistake, don't scribble it out or draw a line through it. Let's use whiteout and make sure that everything stays nice and neat.
Now, as we like to say in recovery, it is time to take action. So about 15 minutes before your house meeting, you will sit down with the comptroller. The comptroller is the person who collects everybody's EES, or equal expense shared, and you will get from them all the money orders that they have collected. Now, with those money orders, you're going to start to fill out some of your paperwork. Let's look at how to fill out the Financial Status Report. Now, on the Financial Status Report, you're going to enter the name of your house, the number of this weekly report, and the date that this report covers. Then you're going to go to last week's report and bring the ending balance over to this week as the beginning balance there at the top, and then enter the dates and names and amounts of all the money orders that you received today, before and during the house meeting. Total them at the bottom for total money received and carry that over. Now, the next section of the Financial Status Report will include all expenditures by check and cash. So this is where, during the house meeting, the house is going to vote on bills to pay and items to buy. You will be recording all the information here: the date, who it's paid to, what the purpose of this check was for, the check number, and the amount. So after the house meeting and at the end of the week, you should have a total of how much money was spent. You'll put that at the bottom and carry it over. And then you should take the money beginning balance plus money deposited, and then subtract money spent to get your ending balance in checking. Now, on the back side at the top, is for the savings account. If you notice, there's a transfer from checking that was recorded on the other side. We'll include that here. You'll have your beginning balance, $880.47. You transferred $50. You didn't spend anything, so your new balance in savings is $930.47. It's a good idea, though, that when you get your bank statement, if you have a savings account, to check for interest accumulated so that you can update your balance even if you aren't spending or depositing from the savings, because you will earn interest for having money in a savings account. And then there at the bottom is this week's petty cash balance. This house does not use petty cash, so there is no balance for petty cash. Some houses will keep a little bit of cash on hand for emergency house supplies or things of that nature. Now, the last section of the financial status report will include bills to be paid. So you need to include any bills that are going to be coming up within the next 30 days, such as rent, any utility bills that have come in the mail, or repayments of any loans, and then total that up. And then at the bottom there's a notes section, so that the treasurer here is reminding himself and the house that an audit needs to be done. Now, this financial status report is something that you will start at the house meeting for the following week, the week that is coming up. So you will not be reporting on what you're writing down at the house meeting. What you will be reporting on when the president calls for your treasurer's report will be all this information that was completed last week, a full week's report. So this report here that started today will not be complete until the house meeting next week. Okay, now that you have a basic understanding of the financial status report, let's look at what you'll be doing immediately following the house meeting. The first thing you're going to want to do is get your deposit ready for the next business day. So you're going to take a deposit slip and you're going to include all the money orders that you've received and total that up so that you can take those money orders to the bank and get them in the checking account as soon as possible. Now, when you go to the bank, don't forget to get the receipt of what the deposit was so you can bring that back and either staple it to that financial status report or the carbon copy of the deposit ticket. I've seen houses do it both ways, but you want to make sure you bring that receipt back so that you can protect yourself if anybody questions that money is being deposited into the account. The other thing that you're going to do is you're going to get all the bills that are due out into the mail. So you're going to tear off the section of the bill that has to be returned, insert it with the check into an envelope, make sure you get the correct address on there. Usually bills include an envelope for you. And the other section that has the usage of utilities or whatever the bill is, you want to make sure that that's being filed in your filing system so you can keep record of how much the bills are from month to month. So you'll get those bills out to the mailbox. And then you want to make sure that you get with whoever has the key to the safe or the combination to the safe and get the checkbook and the deposit book back into the safe as quickly as possible. You don't want to leave the checkbook out. The only time it should come out is during house meetings or when you and the comptroller and the president are sitting down to do an audit of the house checking account. Okay, now let's talk about the audit. Now, don't let the word audit scare you or confuse you. The audit is very, very simple, especially when you're getting help from the comptroller and the president. Basically, all an audit is making sure that your figures that you have in the checkbook and the financial status report match what the bank says you have. You want those two numbers to match. And the best way to do that is perform the audit the day you get your bank statement. The longer you wait after your bank statement arrives, the more information you're going to have to include in the report and the more calculations you're going to have to perform. So sit down the day you get your bank statement and you take your bank statement balance, you add the deposits that don't show up on that statement, and then you subtract the checks that don't show up on that statement, and that will give you an actual total of what you have in the bank at that very moment. The instructions on the audit form are pretty cut and dry, pretty straightforward, so I'm not going to go into detail on how to fill out that form, but just know that the audit needs to be performed once a month and you need to get help. It shouldn't just be left up to the treasurer to perform the audit. And a lot of chapters want you to bring a copy of the audit to the chapter meetings to show that that you are keeping up with your finances and keeping everything on track. Now, the last form we're going to talk about is the bank signer form, and this is basically just something to reinforce the meeting minutes when you take them to the bank to get a new signer put on the checking account, or somebody who has moved out or got voted in as treasurer taken off as a signer. You just put the person's name and the date and have your president and secretary sign it. It's pretty straightforward, but it does make the bank feel a little bit better about allowing you to change signers, especially if the person who you're removing is not present. Alright, now the last thing we're going to discuss is very important. You are not to do any bill paying online or any banking online. The only electronic banking or bill paying you will be doing will be loans to Oxford House Incorporated or donations to Oxford House Incorporated. This also includes telephones. Don't pay any bills over the phone. We have to have physical record of bills being paid. So we want checks written, and we want check stubs being filled out, and we want to keep receipts, all receipts. It's important that as a treasurer we keep all that information, physical copies of that information. Alright, now to close out this training, I want to thank you for listening and watching, and I hope you have some confidence now about being the treasurer for your house. But understand that you can't get too overconfident. Don't take it all upon yourself, all on your own shoulders, to be in charge of the finances of the house. Everybody needs to be responsible for the finances of the house because it's everybody's money. All you're here to do is just keep track of the figures and report correct information. But ask for help when you need it, and search for the answers when you have questions.